What's up, y'all? I'm Jobin.
And I'm Sammy.
Let's go. Come on.
And this is the Preparing for Competition podcast, where we talk about strategies outside of physical preparation. So I wanted to bring Sammy on here. He's had a few. How many fights have you had?
I've had 2 professional fights and a couple smokers. Smokers are fights that don't really count to your record, and they're inside the gym.
I'm preparing for my first fight this weekend, Saturday, April 5th. And I wanted to talk to Sammy and discuss some psychological training that you can do outside of the physical training, which, of course, if you're preparing for competition, your coach or your teammates are going to be helping you with that physical training. And I feel like that psychological training isn't really talked about as much. So what have you done outside of like physical training when you're preparing for competition, like to deal with the nerves and like everything within your head as you led up to those fights?
I've tried to remove any stressors that could be impacting me during the 3 days or 4 days before. I'll try to finish my school assignments.
Okay.
And I've tried to stop drinking coffee.
Okay, so you're kind of removing things that may be contributing to some way, contributing to your anxiety in some way.
Trying to get a lot of rest.
Okay.
And sleep.
Makes sense. So I've read a lot online. I have this article that I've linked in the comments of this video called Mantra Magic, where the author talks about strategies in terms of like affirmations, positive affirmations we can tell ourselves, and like finding a mantra for yourself that you can use. I don't know if you've heard of like using mantras before.
Not really.
No. So mantras she describes in the article as positive, as personal, as pointed. So like they relate to you. They're positive. She also says present. So it can be anything like I am healthy, I am ready, I have done everything I need to do to prepare for this competition. And they can kind of, in a way, condition your mind to combat that like negative self-talk or self-doubt that you have as you prepare for a fight in terms of like the fighting nerves. Do you think that would help you in any way?
Yeah, I feel like it would trick your mind into getting rid of your nerves and just kind of locking in.
Exactly, yeah. So I think that can be very useful. Personally, I've been using mantras. I've been journaling. Do you journal at all preparing for fights?
Before my last fight, you told me to journal.
Yeah.
I did a couple. It helped.
You feel like it helped you sort out your thought process a little bit?
The nerves kind of, made me lock in.
That's good. Yeah, so I've been using mantras, like affirmations, like I said, like I am healthy, I've done everything I need to do, I am present, I am aware, I am reaching my full capabilities, and that's helped me a lot. Have you done any visualization? Because I've read a lot about visualization.
I don't know if this is what we're talking about, but I've shadow boxed before my fights.
Yeah. Kind
of seeing my opponent in front of me.
Okay.
And I've seen how the fights would go.
Yeah.
But I prepared for what's the word? Things that could happen during the fight.
Yeah. So you're kind of like thinking about how the fight will go, and I guess that could be applied to any athletes out there. Whereas if you're having a basketball game or a tennis match, kind of imagining what your opponent's doing and how that'll all go out. Does that sound like kind of what you're doing for fights? Yeah. So I have another article attached in the description as well. It is a scholarly article, and it kind of is talking about different studies that have done research with visualization for fights, and they have found the one study was showing that basketball players who visualized before fights and who did mental rehearsal, they scored more points in the basketball game as compared to when they didn't do that mental rehearsal before fights. And I think it can be kind of overwhelming when we're thinking about visualization, because it's like, where do I start? Like when you're thinking about, okay, I need to visualize, there's a lot of things. So something I've read up, and it was in that article, it was kind of describing how to visualize. So I have linked some guided visualization activities as well underneath. And in terms of visualization, you want to, what I've read from these articles and from the guided meditations, is you want to chronologically go through the competition in your mind. And you want to think about the 5 senses. So you want to think about what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're feeling, like touch-wise, what you're smelling. What's the 5th sense? See, hear, smell, touch, I guess taste, but yeah, we're gonna cut that out. You want to go through what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're smelling, and what you're feeling inside that competition. So for me, visualizing for this fight on Saturday, I've been going through my walkout, thinking about the walkout song that I'll be walking out to, what I'm hearing from the crowd, what I'm smelling as I walk to the ring, and then kind of going through each round, and in between the rounds, spending a full 8 minutes, which will be the length of my amateur fight, visualizing all of those aspects of the fight. Do you think that would help you in future competitions?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I hope it'll help me this weekend. And the authors of this article and many other articles were saying you want to prepare for everything and expect everything, but also expect nothing at the same time. You don't want to have preconceived notions of how your opponents will be or what the other team or the other fighter will be like. You want to expect them to be really good. You also want to expect them to be really bad. You want to expect everything in the middle, and you want to expect nothing. You don't want to go in there thinking one thing's going to happen and then it won't happen. So during this visualization, when you're doing so with the guided visualization or whatever activity you choose to do, even if it's unguided, you want to think of all the things that may come your way and expect all of them. Expect that any one of them may occur, a different combination of all of them, and also just expect that something you may not even think of will happen. Because things can catch us off guard when we're going into competition, and you don't want to think that it will be one way and then it'll be totally different. And that's just really important to think about. Is there anything else you want to add, Sammy, as far as your own experiences, things that have helped you?
No, you kind of covered all the bases here.
Okay, that's cool. So we talked about, in Sammy's experience, he's tried to relieve stressors, schoolwork, get good sleep, don't drink coffee a few nights before a competition, to try to get rid of that anxiety. And then we've talked about different mantras you can use to help you, positive affirmations, as well as visualization and mental rehearsal. I've linked a few articles that we've talked about in this video, as well as some guided visualization meditations, you could call them, or mental rehearsal activities for you athletes to practice at home. So let me know if you guys have any questions for us. And yeah, thanks for coming to our podcast today. Say bye, Sammy.
Bye.